I spent my whole life working hard for this family, only to watch, on my deathbed, as my husband brought home a widow he had met during his countryside assignment, and moved her right into our house. I confronted him, furious, but he just looked at me with disgust and said, "If I had known I'd become a leader in just a few years, I never would have settled for someone like you. I would have chosen true love over marrying such a dull woman." The widow kissed him right on the mouth and gave me a sneering glance. "You stole the position of the leader's wife that should have been mine for over 40 years. That should be enough for you. And the son I had raised with everything I had? He told me to just die. You old hag, if it weren't for you, our family would have been reunited long ago." I couldn't accept it. I grabbed a knife and stabbed my husband. We died together. When I opened my eyes again, I saw him glaring at me, shaking me off in disgust. "Forget the wedding. I'm going to be a high-ranking official. You're not good enough for me." But I wasn't angry. I found it laughable. If I hadn't given up my return spot for him back then, how would he have ever become a leader? That day was supposed to be the day Mason Blake came to discuss our engagement. In front of the villagers and fellow youth program members, he gently took my hand and said, "Emma Lane, I swear I'll love you for the rest of my life." Before he could finish, his expression suddenly turned dazed. When he looked at me again, his eyes were cold. He yanked his hand from mine and said in a harsh voice, "The engagement's off. I'm heading back to the city soon. We're not a good match." His sudden force knocked me off balance, and I fell hard to the ground. Mason didn't even glance back. He ran straight to the door and grabbed Ava Young's hand. "Ava, you're the only one in my heart. I'll never marry anyone else. Please marry me. I'll make you the happiest woman in the world." Ava's eyes filled with tears as she ran into his arms. They looked like a couple straight out of a melodrama, completely ignoring everyone around them. Everyone at the scene was stunned. Mason's sister, Rachel Blake, who had come to the countryside with him, stared at him furiously. "Have you lost your mind? Emma has everything going for her, and you'd throw her away for a widow who can't even read a single word?" Mason sneered. "Rachel, I know you want me to marry Emma because her family could help me get a return spot. But I'm telling you, I don't need her. I can get that spot on my own, and in less than 2 years I'll be promoted. By then her family won't even be worthy of me. I'm going to pursue true love with courage this time. Ava is the only one for me, my true destiny. I won't repeat my past mistakes." The sharp pain in my palm and the chaos in front of me made it clear. This wasn't some deathbed hallucination or dream. I had truly been reborn. Mason and I grew up in the same housing compound. We were very close. Later, we were both assigned to the same rural re-education program. The original plan was to get married once we returned to the city, but Mason's family worried mine would think he wasn't good enough for me, so they arranged for us to marry early. When the return list was released, his name was on it. Mine wasn't. We endured years of a long-distance relationship. During that time, he got promoted and became a leader, but instead of growing distant, he treated me even more tenderly. Even though I never got pregnant, he never complained. He told people it was because of his own health problems, and even sent a relative's child to live with us so I wouldn't feel lonely. I managed the house, took care of everything, and stayed by his side for 40 years. Even when I fell gravely ill from overwork, I kept going, because this was the life I had chosen. But in other people's eyes, my devotion had become a thorn in their side. Just as I returned home to finally rest and recover, Ava Young stormed in wearing gold jewelry, lips painted bright red. "Emma Lane," she said with a smirk, "you should be content. This little performance is over." I looked at my son standing beside her, his hand tightly clutching hers, and he echoed her words. "Yeah. It's time my real parents got back together." In that moment, I finally understood everything. It turned out Mason Blake had already colluded with the widow, Ava Young, long before we were married. The son I had poured my heart into raising, he was actually their illegitimate child. My chest ached with the weight of betrayal, but I forced myself to ask Mason, "If that's how it was all along, why didn't you tell me earlier? Why waste the majority of my life?" Mason looked at me coldly. "I married you because your family could help me get a return spot to the city. But in the end, I got that spot on my own without needing your help. Later, when I became a leader, I thought about divorcing you. But you took care of me so well, and Ava had just gotten pregnant, so I figured you could help raise the child. That's how it dragged on until now. I trembled with rage at his shameless calculation. My entire body shook. In a moment of uncontrollable fury, I picked up a fruit knife and stabbed him. We died together. The village chief exploded with anger. He helped me up and roared at Mason, "What the hell is going on? Today was the day you came here to propose. How can you back out at the last minute? If you didn't want to marry Emma, then why put on such a grand show with all this fanfare?" Mason sneered dismissively. "These betrothal gifts were always meant for Ava. I'm sending them to her house right now. Only a beauty like her is worthy of a man like me." The gathered crowd who had been watching the scene unfold broke into whispers and murmurs. "What a jerk! He waits until the ceremony to cancel everything. I saw this coming. He was way too close to that widow." Emma, too, chasing after him every day with no self-respect. Mason ignored every single word. He told his fellow youth comrades to move the dowry. "Take this to the young family right away," he ordered. He even pulled his sister Rachel aside and said, "Don't let them fool you. Her family can't help me at all." My friends were furious, but thinking of how sincere my love had been, they held back and tried to stop him. I shook my head and stopped them. Forget it. Even if he begged me now, I wouldn't marry him. Mason clearly hadn't expected me to say that. He let out a mocking laugh. "So you finally figured it out. At least you know now. You're not good enough for me." I didn't say another word and walked away without looking back. As I watched them disappear into the distance, I let out a cold laugh. Not good enough? I doubt that. Mason wasted no time. He went straight to Ava's house and sealed the marriage deal in just a few words. I didn't react. I simply recorded every detail of this lifetime, every event, every betrayal, preparing for what's to come. Apparently, my calm unsettled Mason. He brought Ava with him to visit me. When he saw my composed expression, he looked surprised. "Ava, you're too kind. Someone like her, so boring and plain, doesn't deserve your sympathy." Ava looked smug as she spoke. "Emma, I came today to apologize and to thank you. Mason told me everything about how he can see the future." I nearly burst out laughing. This man, so seasoned in politics, could actually spin such a ridiculous lie and still sound convincing. When I stayed silent, Ava quickly stepped in front of him as if to defend him. "Emma, I really appreciate all that you did for Mason in the past. But there's no future between the two of you. Please stop clinging to a fantasy." I scoffed and moved to shut the door, but Mason jammed his shoe in the doorway. "With your looks and dull personality, I doubt you'll ever find a good man in this life. But since we grew up together, you can come work at my place as a cleaner. Serve Ava and me." Disgusted, I grabbed the umbrella behind the door, ready to throw them out. Mason quickly pulled out a wedding invitation. "Don't be so quick to chase us off. This is our wedding invitation. You helped me for so many years. Of course you're invited. But if you're still not over me and don't want to come, that's fine too." Holding back the nausea, I forced myself to take the invitation. When I saw the date, my brows furrowed. 2 months from now? Why such a delay? This wasn't like the past life at all. Back then, just days after Mason's proposal, we registered our marriage. Why was he stalling this time? With his arm around Ava, Mason laughed smugly. "You wouldn't understand. That day is when the return list will be announced. A special day like that should be shared with the person you love most. I want to marry Ava at the peak of my success." He promised to make Ava the happiest woman in the entire village, to bring her back to the city and give her a life of comfort. Watching them fawn over each other so shamelessly, I had to dig my nails into my palm, just to keep from laughing out loud. In my past life, after we got married, Mason Blake was always anxious and uncertain, constantly afraid he wouldn't get selected for the return list. Even though he always claimed to put me first, he was gloomy and worried every single day. "Emma," he would say, "if I can't go back to the city, will you start resenting me? If you make it back before I do, could you think of a way to help me return too?" Back then, I believed he truly loved me. So when I found out I was selected to return, I gave up my spot for him, thinking I was doing it for love. I had no idea that my sacrifice would be repaid with such heartless betrayal. But this time, I didn't need to lift a finger. I would let regret come find him on its own. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed, and Mason and Ava's wedding was held right on schedule. Contrary to everyone's expectations, I didn't lock myself away to cry. Instead, I dressed in a brand new outfit and attended the event with my head held high. The wedding stirred up a frenzy throughout the entire production team. First, because Mason had abruptly broken off his engagement with me, his equal in status, and instead chose to marry Ava, the widow who had come between us. Everyone wanted to see what kind of woman had managed to cause such a scandal. Second, because the scale of the wedding was massive. I couldn't help but laugh coldly to myself. In my past life, when Mason and I got married, he said we had to save every penny for our return to the city. We didn't even have money for proper wedding clothes. But now, certain of his future, he had gone all out, 10 banquet tables laid out for guests. In these times of scarcity, such feasts were rare. Of course, I had to show up and enjoy a drink or two. The moment I walked in, the whole venue went into an uproar. Voices buzzed through the crowd like wildfire. "Oh my God, Emma Lane actually came to the wedding! This is going to be a disaster. She must be here to cause a scene." I'd cause a scene too. She treated Mason so well for years, and now this? She's not someone you can just betray like that and get away with it. I ignored the whispers and gossip around me and calmly chose an empty corner seat. Mason and Ava spotted me quickly. Neither of them had expected me to actually show up. After exchanging a glance, they approached me with glasses of wine in hand. Mason sneered. "You've got some nerve showing up. Don't tell me you found out you married me in the last life and now you've come to steal me back?" Ava glared at me with contempt. "Emma Lane, could you please have some self-respect? Today is our wedding day. What are you doing showing up dressed like that? Are you trying to steal attention?" I let out a soft laugh. "What's wrong? You invited me to your wedding. Now you don't want me here? Are you scared I'll steal your man?" I turned to Ava with mockery in my eyes. "Relax. Even if you offered him to me, I wouldn't take him. Trash like that isn't worth picking up. I'm only here to wait for the return list." The moment those words left my mouth, the two of them actually burst into laughter. Mason grabbed the microphone from the MC and shouted toward the guests. "Everyone, look, my ex-fiancée is still clinging to me like glue, saying she wants to steal my return spot. Isn't that crazy?" He raised his voice with smug confidence. "I told you all, I, Mason Blake, will be the first youth from our team to return to the city. That's a done deal, no one can take it from me." He'd been repeating that same claim for 2 months straight. At first, people were skeptical, but over time they started to believe it, and now they were fully convinced. Seeing how sure of himself he was, the crowd followed his lead, mocking me openly. They said I was delusional, that I'd lost my mind after being dumped. Just then, the team leader and a messenger came running into the wedding, visibly excited. "The return list is out." Mason immediately straightened his clothes and rushed forward with his hand outstretched, ready to receive the document. But the team leader didn't even look at him. Instead, he walked straight up to me and handed it over. "Congratulations, Emma," he said. I took the envelope, trying to stay composed, but my nose was stinging and my eyes welled up. I felt like I was about to cry and just wanted to find a quiet place to let it all out. My hands trembled with excitement. Mason, meanwhile, stood frozen like he'd been struck by lightning. He stared at the team leader and the messenger, searching their hands as if still expecting something. Seeing they were empty, he finally snapped. "There must be some mistake, right?" he asked the team leader, his voice trembling. "Why was the return spot given to Emma Lane?" Mason Blake demanded. The team leader furrowed his brows. "Given by mistake? My eyes are just fine, thanks. I can still read bold letters. The name written on the transfer order is clearly Emma Lane. Why would I hand it to the wrong person?" Mason scrambled to explain. No, that's not what I meant. I was just asking where my transfer order is." The team leader looked at him like he was losing his mind. "Your transfer order? Emma's been recognized as a skilled worker and granted early return to the city on that basis. What skills do you have that would justify bringing you back early? Emma's out there every day researching new agricultural techniques in the fields. You spend your time cozying up with Ava Young, and now you expect a transfer order? Too late. The moment those words were spoken, everyone around us fell completely silent. The smug grin on Mason's face froze. His sister Rachel tugged lightly at his sleeve and whispered, "Mason, what's going on here?" Mason's face turned ashen. All the arrogance and confidence from earlier had evaporated. He ignored Rachel completely, shaking his head violently. No, this isn't possible. That return spot was supposed to be mine. It can't be wrong. This doesn't make sense." Suddenly, he rushed at me and grabbed my wrist. "Give me my transfer order." The team leader and the messenger immediately stepped in front of me, shielding me from him. The team leader snapped, "Are you out of your mind?" I said it clearly. "You weren't selected. Harassing Emma won't change that." Only then did the crowd truly understand what had happened. For an entire month, Mason had been boasting that he was going to return to the city, spreading it everywhere as if it were already confirmed. But it turned out to be nothing but wishful thinking. He hadn't been selected at all. Ava's eyes went wide in shock. "Mason, you told me it was guaranteed you'd be returning. How could it turn out to be Emma? You've been lying to me all this time? I've already given myself to you. You promised to bring me back to the city. How could you do this to me?" My brow twitched. It seemed their relationship had already crossed a line. Then again, I wasn't surprised. In my past life, after Ava lost her husband, she started having an affair with Mason. If she could do it then, she could certainly do it now. Ava's parents were livid, their faces dark with fury. Her father shouted, "Mason Blake, my daughter could have married someone decent. It was because you promised she'd return to the city with you that we turned down another suitor. A good one, too. They were offering $10,000 in bride price, and we didn't take a penny from you. You owe us an explanation. If not, I'll report you for fraud." Ava was crying uncontrollably, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mason looked completely dazed, but he still held her hand and tried to explain. "Sweetheart, this has to be some kind of mistake, but it's okay. Even if I wasn't selected this time, I will be next time. I swear I'll get back to the city. The future won't change." Ava could no longer speak. I, on the other hand, found it hilarious. Yes, in a few years, everyone would eventually get to return. But leadership positions? Those didn't come around twice. Mason had only become a leader last time because I gave up my spot for him. But a few years later, when the return quota opened up to more people, the leadership ranks were already full. 1 slot per person, and every spot was filled. No more promotions. I wasn't the only one laughing. The other wedding guests had started whispering and snickering behind their hands. Who knows when the next return chance will be? He was just bragging earlier, wasn't he? Saying it like it was a done deal. Now look at him. I bet he was just lying to marry that girl. Probably. I mean, how could he possibly compete with Emma Lane? Why did he ever think he'd be picked? Liar. Now he's lost both the promotion and the bride. The mockery grew louder. Ava's entire family turned on Mason, angrily demanding compensation. "Pay up or we'll ruin your reputation. You'll never return to the city for the rest of your life." Mason was frantic. He couldn't understand how everything had turned against him so quickly. Desperate, he glared at me. "Emma Lane, explain this. What happened? How did my opportunity end up in your hands? What trick did you pull? You'd better give me that transfer order or I'll report you myself. I'll ruin you." Never rise again. Never rise again. That line was meant for him. I gave Mason Blake a smile and said, "Go ahead, report me if you want. I'll be right here, waiting for the authorities to come investigate." Then I turned to the team leader, thanked him, and left with my transfer order in hand, walking tall under the envious gazes of everyone present. Even after I'd walked a long way from the wedding courtyard, I could still hear the sounds of mocking laughter and the hysterical yelling from the young family behind me. As I walked home with the transfer order clutched in my hand, my heart was filled with emotion. In my past life, I married Mason. To help him fulfill his dream of returning to the city, I gave up my own opportunity. I had wanted to keep working on agricultural technology innovations, but Ava Young showed up just to mock me. "Emma," she had said, "you're a married woman now. Mason just got back to the city and is still settling in. He needs support from all sides. And as his wife, you shouldn't go around making waves and causing trouble. Just wait for him to bring you back. If you try to earn your own return spot, who knows how long it'll take? Maybe never. Why suffer like that? What you really need to do is give Mason a child as soon as possible. That way, you'll lock him down. Otherwise, once he's in the city, surrounded by outstanding women, he'll eventually grow tired of you. And just like that, I gave up my career, pouring everything I had into Mason. I died full of regret. Thankfully, this time, I was reborn. In this life, I won't give up any opportunity that belongs to me. Over the next few days, people came to my house in a constant stream, offering congratulations, proposing marriages, so many that they nearly wore out my doorstep. But with the painful lessons of my past life etched into my heart, I didn't consider marriage at all. Still, my refusal to accept any matchmaking was completely misunderstood by Mason. One evening, as I was walking home from the team office, Mason suddenly appeared out of nowhere. As I was opening my front gate, he slipped right in behind me. It had only been half a month, but Mason looked like he'd aged years. His face was pale and haggard, and there were visible bruises. Judging by the marks, it was likely Ava's family had beaten him. I looked at him with irritation. "What do you want?" He sighed and looked utterly defeated. Ignoring my question, he started talking like I hadn't said anything. "These injuries, Ava's family did this. But don't worry, it's nothing serious. I can't really blame them. They agreed to the marriage because they thought I was returning to the city. They even gave a generous dowry and a lot of money. Now that everything's fallen apart, of course they're furious." I cut him off coldly. "That's your mess. I don't care if they beat you to death." Mason glanced at me and sighed again. "Emma, don't say such harsh things. You've turned down so many proposals lately. Isn't it obvious you're just waiting for me to come back to you?" I laughed in his face. "Have you lost your mind? Who I marry is none of your business." "How can it not be?" Mason looked at me with an intense expression. "When you first got the transfer order, I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was just another change I caused by being reborn. But then I thought it through. I was reborn after the selection list had already been finalized. That means my return couldn't have been affected by me being reborn. The only thing that changed was that I didn't marry you." I struggled to contain my anger. "What's your point?" Seeing that I was running out of patience, Mason still didn't give up. "At first, I thought you had done something shady to take away my return spot. But now I finally understand. It's actually very simple. In our previous life, the return spot was always yours. You found out the result early and gave it to me voluntarily, didn't you?" I responded with a cold, "Yeah, what's done is done." Tears rolled down Mason's face. "Emma, I was blind. I betrayed the one person who loved me the most. I've done so many unforgivable things, and I need to confess to you. Honestly, you were never the one with a problem. Physically, you were perfectly healthy. It was me. I was the one who felt inferior to you. I couldn't stand being compared. So I treated you like a servant, refused to have a child with you, and pushed you away, especially after Ava got pregnant. That's why I put drugs in your food," Mason said quietly. "I made you infertile on purpose, so you'd help us raise the child. The illness you developed later, that was a side effect of those drugs. Everything was my fault." I stared at him, brows furrowed, a wave of nausea rising in my chest. His confession was horrifying, and yet, in that moment, all I felt was relief. I was shocked, yes, but even more grateful that I had never borne a child with him. If I had in that past life, I would be consumed by longing in this one. That kind of torment would have been unbearable. Not having children had become a blessing in disguise. I shot him a cold glance. "Let the past stay in the past. Don't bring it up again. You were a monster in your last life, but I already sent you to hell with my own hands. Now that I have a second chance, all I want is for you to stay away from me." Mason's eyes lit up. "So, you're saying you forgive me?" Before I could say a word, he was already smiling with satisfaction. "I knew it. You've always been so kind. You'd never shut the door on me completely." I was so angry I couldn't speak. I had never said I forgave him. I still hated him. But since fate had given me another shot at life, I no longer wanted to be tied down by old grudges. I just wanted to live for myself. My silence only seemed to feed Mason's delusion. "At first," he continued, "I thought being reborn was my chance to pursue true love. But now I realize It's heaven giving me a chance to make things right. To make it up to you. So this time, I swear, I'll love only you. I want to start a family with you, grow old together. Let's begin again. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Mason Blake, have you completely lost your mind? Don't forget you're a married man now. The moment I said that, his expression darkened. Ava's not the woman I thought she was. For the past month, all she's done is yell at me. She has no idea how much I've sacrificed. But you've never blamed me. You were always so gentle, so patient. I must have been blind to fall in love with her. Now all I feel is hate. I gave her everything, and she never appreciated it. So I've decided, I'm divorcing her. You're the one I should have married. I've seen the error of my ways, and I swear I'll treasure you this time. As revolting as his words were, I could tell he genuinely regretted it. Then, right in front of me, Mason got down on one knee. Emma Lane, marry me. I swear I'll love no one else but you for the rest of my life. I gave him a slow, mocking smile. You want to marry me? He nodded eagerly. Yes, but on one condition. I hope, just like last time, you'll give me your return spot. I stared at him, stunned. What do you mean? Mason rushed to explain. I want you to give up your return opportunity again. For me. But don't worry, I swear I'll never betray you this time. My heart belongs only to you now. He bit his lip as if trying to show his determination. Once I get back to the city and settle down, I'll find a way to get you a good job. I know my family will oppose it, but I'm willing to sacrifice everything for you. We'll be together again, in the city, just like a fairy tale. That was it. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I laughed straight in his face. Mason Blake, are you insane? Look in the mirror. Do you even see what you've become? I didn't sugarcoat it anymore. I admit, in my past life I was blind to fall for someone like you. I ruined my whole life for trash. But now that I've been given another chance, what makes you think I'd give it up for you again? After all our years together, this was the first time I truly unleashed my anger at him. He stood there in a daze, completely speechless. After a long pause, he finally mumbled, I didn't mean for you to never return. I just thought I'd go first, get settled, then come back for you. I nearly laughed out loud again. Who do you think you are? I need your permission to return to the city? I need your help? If you want to return to the city, figure it out yourself. Mason Blake kept his head low, still kneeling on the ground. I can't. You know my background. My family's ordinary, no connections. I'm not skilled enough to qualify as a technical talent. I spent my whole life as a leader, and whatever skills I once had are long gone. That's why I regret it so much. How could I have treated you that way in our last life? I looked at him coldly, my voice filled with scorn. You had no ability of your own. Did it never occur to you that I was the one you dragged down? That I gave up the career I loved because of you? Mason looked up, clearly confused. So what? I've already said I want to marry you. Isn't my love enough? You know full well, if I stay here, my life is over. I've tasted the good life. How could I ever go back to the way things were? He leaned in, desperate. Besides, returning to the city isn't all that great. Even if you go back, can you guarantee things will go well for you? Believe me, being with me is the only way you'll find real happiness. Everything I'm saying, it's for your own good. I let out a cold laugh. I wanted nothing more than to dump a bucket of ice water over his head to wake him up from his delusion. But I restrained myself, raised my voice, and said clearly, Mason Blake, let me make this perfectly clear. I'm not giving you my return spot. Your empty words mean nothing to me. You can brush off my career like it doesn't matter, but your future, your ambitions, they have nothing to do with me. You brought this on yourself. Now get out of my house, and don't ever show your face to me again. Only then did Mason finally realize I wasn't playing hard to get. I truly had no intention of marrying him or giving up my return spot. He slowly stood, eyes dark with something sharp and dangerous. Emma Lane, you're ungrateful, he growled. I'm your future husband. That return order should be mine. The threatening look in his eyes made me instinctively step back. What are you trying to do? Planning to hurt me? Let me tell you, even if you kill me, that order still won't belong to you. He sneered. Hurt you? Why would I hurt you? I'm just trying to make things right again. He stepped closer and closer, back, a disgusting smile spreading across his face. You're mine. Last time, you threw yourself at me. This time, I'm the one coming for you. Once you're mine, I'll tell everyone you seduced me. If you don't want to live in shame, then marry me and hand over that return order." As he reached out to grab me, I didn't struggle. I stayed calm and said, "Mason Blake, do you know how many years someone can be sentenced for sexual assault?" He froze, caught off guard. Before he could react, my front door slammed open. The team leader burst in with the police, and they immediately tackled Mason to the ground and restrained him. "You set me up," Mason screamed, thrashing wildly. It wasn't exactly a setup. I had gotten home earlier than he realized. But the moment I saw him sneaking around behind me, I knew he was up to something. So I didn't go inside right away. I called the team leader and the police first, then circled back. I wanted everyone to see with their own eyes. Mason Blake was a predator. Now that he had been caught in the act, the officers prepared to take him in for questioning. Mason fought like a madman. "I didn't do anything wrong. Don't arrest me. Emma Lane is my woman. I've been reborn. You idiots, let me go. I need to return to the city. I don't want to go to prison." But no one believed a word of his nonsense anymore. After all, his claim that he'd been selected to return had already become a laughingstock. Everyone just assumed he had lost his mind. His sister Rachel came running over when she heard the commotion, trying desperately to block the officers. But she was shoved aside without a second thought. Mason dropped back to his knees and begged me, "Emma, please, just say something. Tell them you seduced me. I can't go to jail." I couldn't be bothered with him. I turned away and calmly cooperated with the police as they forced Mason Blake into the patrol car. It wasn't until after he was taken away that the crowd learned the most horrifying truth. Mason had completely lost his mind. During a heated argument, he had pushed Ava Young down the stairs. She wanted a divorce, called him a worthless failure, and in a moment of rage, he shoved her. The fall killed her. Afterward, he didn't even think he'd done anything wrong. He actually came to my house, trying to propose to me, as if nothing had happened. Only then did I realize why he had seemed so strange when we talked, why he was so certain that he and Ava were over. That lunatic had already taken her life. In the end, Mason Blake was convicted of intentional homicide and sentenced to death. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. At long last, the day I'd been waiting for finally arrived. Holding the return order I had worked so hard for, I stepped into the Agricultural Research Institute I had dreamed of in my past life, ready to begin a new, brilliant chapter of my life.